Today, unfortunately, Logic died. Logic died. Of course, you know about the death of Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock in Star Trek. And everyone knows, especially if you're a Trekkie. I was not a Trekkie until the new movies came out, the J.J. Abrams movies. I love those movies. I got into Star Trek really because of those movies. And I thought it was so cool that Leonard Nimoy played in those movies, too. He played older Leonard Nimoy, who was from the future and had to go through the past and all that stuff. I won't get into all that right now. But his character was all about logic. We have to do the logical thing. And I think he died today, and in some ways it's kind of fitting because in many ways our world doesn't look at logic anymore. Logic has died today. Logic has been dying. With Leonard Nimoy, it's fitting because logic is dying in our country. We don't care about logic. It's all about feelings and emotions and intention. We no longer care about logic or reason or achievement.
Give me a hug.
Give you a hug.
Feelings, emotion.
Aw, yeah. I feel grateful that Tom Benson is here producing.
It's a Friday night. Here we are.
And, of course, the fabulous, wonderful assistant producer today, Michael.
Good evening. Thank you very much for that introduction. That's very nice of you.
I try. Well, you're pushing the buttons and taking calls. I'm very grateful. I feel so nice that you guys are here with me today. It's just all this warm, fuzzy feelings.
I feel grateful that I get to be here with you
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, we all special. Yay, kumbaya.
It's the logical place to be.
It is the logical place. I like that. Michael, can you get a bumper sticker made on that? Okay. The logical, he just shook his head like he totally took me serious and he's going to do it. That was good. I like that. You're listening to Beyond Reason with your host, me, Michael Yaffee. I usually produce Bud Hedinger Live, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on this station. You can also check out my old podcast on my new website, BeyondReasonRadio.com. BeyondReasonRadio.com. Catch out my old podcast. Once this show is done, I'll post this show. Eventually, it's going to be available everywhere on iTunes, on SoundCloud, Stitcher, all that stuff. So it's going to be really cool. So check that out as well. By the way, this show is all about, I try to sift through everything in the world that is beyond reason and be the voice of reason through everything in the world today. There is a ton of stuff going on, and one of the biggest things, obviously, is CPAC. And I know that a lot of you, well, I don't know if a lot of you, some of you might expect me to play cuts of Jeb Bush and to play cuts of Marco Rubio and to just go over point by point how great they were, how bad they were, how Jeb Bush says this on immigration and Rubio said that. And then there were some other speakers as well, Newt Gingrich, I think. And I am just not in the mood to do that today. I mean, do we really? I'm just so sick of hearing these politicians. That's all they are, politicians. I mean, I listened to both of them. I listened to Marco Rubio. His speech was great. I actually really liked it. He talked about how America is exceptional. Jeb Bush was very interesting, did not do a speech. He had a Q&A session with Sean Hannity. He actually did not do a speech. And the big news there was that some people walked out in protest. But I don't know. I just don't believe him on so much stuff. And that's my biggest problem with Jeb Bush. He talked about, we need to secure the border, and then he talked about path to citizenship. Does anyone actually believe that Jeb Bush is going to make it a priority to secure the border before path to citizenship? Does anyone believe that? I don't. And he made a mention, there is no plan to deport 11 million illegal immigrants. Thank you. We know that. No one is talking about that. Now, there has been things in place to maybe have them self-deport because they can't get jobs here legally if we have a good system in place. But no one's talking about that. All we want is you to get serious about securing the border first. And then we can talk about it and work out all the other stuff. But when you say, we need to secure the border and we need to give them path to citizenship, they're going to create jobs and blah, blah, blah. No one thinks you're serious about the main issue, which is securing the border. So Anyways, I got into it more than I even wanted to because I don't want to talk about these politicians anymore. There was one person who spoke, the head of the Media Research Center. I'm not going to play that here, Michael. He's getting ready for me, but I'm going to play that in the next segment. He had some bold statements to make. Bold statements, and I thought he was really great. Some people think he's a little too extreme. We'll play it, and I'll let you decide. You can call in 407-674-1025. But while all this other stuff is going on, while we're talking about CPAC, while we're debating whether the dress is blue and black or gold and white.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, Michael and I are a big disagreement on this. Tom and I are on the same page, Michael and I. I mean, the real question is not if it's blue and black or
because
about the dress. The real question is the magic colors. Are they blue and black or black and gold? Is UCF really black and gold, or is that blue and white? I don't know anymore. But anyways, while all that's going on, something really serious has actually happened this week. And it's really not getting enough attention. I mean, there's been talk about it. A lot of the big internet companies supported it. Google supported it. Twitter supported it. Reddit supported it. And that is net neutrality. And when I talk to some people about it, the main thing is they really don't understand everything that it is. They don't know what it is. And I think that's on purpose. I really think that's on purpose. They don't want you to understand what it is and what the ramifications could be. So they're just saying it's too complicated. They didn't release all the details. And so this gets passed under the radar without anyone really knowing what happened.
Trust us.
Yes. Trust us. They're talking about how this is actually good. It's going to create a free and open internet. Of course, nobody is talking, well, some people are talking about it, how it opens the door. It's that foot in the door. Just a little bit, doors slid open just a little bit so the government can get involved in the internet. And for those out there, and there's some out there who don't understand this, and this, to me, is the most serious thing that has happened this week. This has huge ramifications for this country and the future of this country, the future of what we can do on the internet, the future of political debate. Think about how much nowadays you use the internet every day. You use it for information, for banking, for news, for everything. And now the government is getting their foot in the door. What net neutrality is it's supposed to make, they say, it's supposed to make the internet fair. Because there's only so much bandwidth. Think of the internet as a road. There's content, and think of content on the internet websites as cars going back and forth through the road that is the internet. There's only so much bandwidth. There's only so much road space. So what was happening is the cable companies, the broadband companies, they were making deals with like Netflix and YouTube and others. Netflix would pay more, and they would give them priority in that road over some of the content of the other ones because they're using so much. That's what the people want to use. So they're giving them priority.
That would be like the express lanes in I-4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's sort of like an express lane. But this is the private sector. It's what the people want, and there's only so much room. And I get why some people want net neutrality. They don't want someone to have special priority because it could get in the way of content of others, which nobody's blocking content of others. It's just it might slow it down, slow some others down because they're giving priority to things like Netflix. Notice how Netflix, if you have Comcast, Netflix is faster now because they made a deal to give Netflix more space. Net neutrality seems good, but think about this. This is what made me really skeptical of it this week and earlier. It's because the government is doing this. It's really the FCC. By the way, Congress had no say in this. It's all the FCC, another bureaucracy that just mandates something to happen, and it's happening. What makes me skeptical is this whole idea on fairness. The government always loves to get involved and talk about fairness. Now, what they're doing might seem fair now, but this is opening the door to major regulations in the future. That is not an extreme statement. Why did the FCC first get created? Little history lesson for you. Why did the FCC first get created, really? Because radio was getting popular, and there's only so much airspace, only so much spectrum airspace for radio stations. So the government had to get in, and I understand it, and they had to regulate it. So there would only be so many radio stations that could take only a certain amount of spectrum space. Otherwise, everyone would be competing for the same air, and there'd be nothing but static. That makes sense. But what happened after that? More and more rules that the FCC brings down every year. And this isn't just politics. This isn't about politics. You know, the FCC eventually brought down the fairness doctrine, which said different political opinions had to have equal time. The FCC brought down fairness doctrine. They regulate speech all the time. They regulate everything radio stations can do. That door is now open for the internet. What was free, what was open, true freedom was happening on the internet. And yes, there's bad stuff, but there's a lot of great stuff. It's been wildly successful in this country, and now we're trying to change it. What's happening in radio is going to come to the internet. Regulation of speech. And by the way, all those who don't care about politics out there, think about how the FCC basically ran Howard Stern off the air because they kept finding him, regulating him because it was too extreme. That can come to the internet now. You've just opened the door for the government to regulate the internet that way. This is very serious because the internet is a great medium for freedom in this country now. To get this country back on course, the Tea Party movement would not have happened without the internet. That is how the Tea Party movement really organized. Now, the Obama administration tried to take him out through the IRS. Imagine how they could try to take him out through regulation in the internet. That's what's coming. And we've opened the door. It's very serious. It's not getting a lot of attention. You have to pay attention because that's what's coming. 407-674-1025. Do you think I'm too extreme on this? Do you like net neutrality? There are some conservatives that do. I'll talk more about CPAC in a second. Play what I think was one of the best speeches so far. There's a lot of other stuff going on, a lot of politics, free stuff as well, and, of course, the debate over the dress. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. Everybody panic! Everybody panic! The House did not pass the resolution to fund the Department of Homeland Security. You know what that means? A whole 17% of Department of Homeland Security is going to shut down most likely. Whole 17%, only 83% of Homeland Security is going to be working? I'm afraid to go home. I am afraid to go home. Panic, everybody.
There's probably only 83% working on a good day anyway.
Yeah, plus, it's the weekend. So I don't think any of them are working. The government technically is shut down right now. But everybody panic. Representative Stephen King, who's a Republican, he tweeted this right now. There are terrorist attacks all over the world, and we're talking about closing down Homeland Security. This is like living in a world of crazy people. Oh, no! What are we going to do? Terrorist attacks everywhere. Whole 17%, which probably is unneeded anyway. It's probably just mostly bureaucracy. This is the kind of fear tactics that drive me crazy when it comes to this government shutdown stuff. Because the essential workers are still working. They have to, by law. I think we're going to be okay. I'm glad that the Republicans in the House of Representatives are finally standing up to Obama. How else are we going to do it? This is Obama's the one playing this game. He is the one who put the executive order and trying to legalize many illegal immigrants. He's the one who's doing that to the Department of Homeland Security. He knew that this was going to be the issue. He knew when he did it that the Republicans would be afraid because there would be talk about shutting down the Department of Homeland Security and there would be panic. So he did this, but it's not working. The House Republicans are standing up and good. What are they afraid of? They just won a huge landslide election in the last midterm elections. What are they afraid of? So there you go. Whole 17% could be shutting down, partial shutdown. Oh, it's a world of crazy people. Oh, no. All right, speaking a little politics here. I know you're all wondering what I saw when in the dress, but we'll get to that later. Little tease there, a little radio tease there, just for you. But at CPAC, there's a lot of speakers speaking. I was talking a little bit about Rubio and Jeb Bush earlier, and Rubio did really good. I like Rubio because he's a great speaker. He has vision. He's not the usual politician. He really has a love and a vision for the future of this country. By the way, if you have any comments on who was at CPAC, any speakers or anything, you're welcome to call 407-674-1025. By the way, you can always chat with me on Twitter. Follow me at Michael Yaffee. At Michael Yaffee, follow me there. You can follow the station at News Radio 1025. And don't forget to go to my new website, beyondreasonradio.com. So of all the speeches, there was one speech out there that did really well. And some say that he might be too extreme. I think he's bold in what he's saying. And it's Brent Bozell. He's the head of the Media Research Center. And he just came out and said things that a lot of people are afraid to say. You're not going to hear this from a normal politician. You're not going to hear this from a normal politician, which is why I like it. It's refreshing. And I think it needs to be said. Because one of his main points is we're not dealing with the regular Democratic Party anymore. The Democratic Party is becoming really radical, especially under Obama. We're afraid to say it, but it's happening. This might be the best speech at CPAC so far. Play Brent Bozell, CPAC. Cut 1 for me, Mike.
Something terrible is happening to our country. The radical left now controls most levers of political and cultural power and is using both in a relentless campaign to destroy the last vestiges of freedom in America. Tyranny is knocking at our door. The radicals have shown their fangs. They will do anything, using any means at their disposal, legal or otherwise, to control our very freedom of speech. Ponder this carefully. When the state uses its power to destroy any political opposition, spying on and silencing through threats and criminal prosecution, is it all that different from the East German Stasi?
Oh, no.
It's come to this.
He said
There's
East German
Stasi, that's
Soviet
permissible
Union
in the
stuff.
climate debate.
People aren't
There's
going to
only
like
one
that.
morally acceptable position on gay rights. Freedom is oppression, free enterprise is confiscatory, morality is immorality, and the Washington Redskins is hate speech. Censorship is everywhere.
He's right on.
We can no longer trust God in our coins, pray in our schools, or keep a crucifix uncovered when the president is speaking in front of it. Our beliefs are no longer insensitive, they're offensive. And what's offensive is hateful, and what is hateful should be criminalized. Do not believe I exaggerate. A national survey shows that 51% of Democrats now support that. Webster defines fascism as a tendency toward or actual exercise in strong autocratic or dictatorial control. Cultural fascism has arrived in America. Let us understand this soberly and unequivocally. Ladies and gentlemen, we know this to be true.
I think it goes beyond cultural fascism. I think it goes into economic fascism, other types of fascism. And people don't like it when he says that because they automatically think Nazis and kill the Jews. What he's talking about is the state getting more control over your life. And there's no doubt that's happening. I just did a whole segment about how the state wants more control over the internet, which is a lot more control over your life. And the internet is just the next thing. Think about how much the state has control over now in some way or another. Healthcare through Obamacare. They just had a lot more control through Dodd-Frank. They have a lot more control of the banking system. Housing through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They took over student loans. The EPA is getting more and more control. And it goes on and on. They want to have community college. Goes on and on. That's fascism. It's amazing. All right, I have a call. Phil from Winter Garden. He looks like he has a comment on my whole thing about how we need to panic because 17% of Department of Homeland Security is going to be shut down. Phil, what do you think? Should we panic?
Yeah, I think you got it backwards. This is a governmental agency, and if 17% are being laid off, they're laying off the only 17% that are working.
yeah, it's usually how it is. We have to keep the paper pusher bureaucrats in there. So yeah,
That's it. Yeah, 17% are out there doing the actual work. 83% are pushing paper and having office parties.
Oh God, that is an excellent point. So
we're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, Phil, what do you think of the Republicans doing this? What do you think of the Republicans standing up against Obama on this? You think?
I'm very proud of them for doing it. I know.
I honestly did not think they would do it.
I didn't think they would either, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are very upset about it. But frankly, they weren't going to vote the way that I'd want to vote anyhow.
Good.
So,
I'm glad they're fighting. I wish that, and I want more of them
right.
to speak.
They should have done this years ago.
Exactly. That's how we got to this point. Phil, you're awesome.
Right.
Thanks so much. Thanks for listening, man. All right. And by the way, I'm glad the Republicans are standing up. And people are saying, "Oh, we're too divided now." Politics has always been divided. I've said this before. I would rather be divided under liberty than united under tyranny. If we're divided, but we're still a country with rights and liberty and freedom, I'm okay with that. But if we're all united under the state getting more control over our lives, I'm not okay with that. Being united for the sake of being united is not a good thing. Maybe we need to be a little divided right now. And I want the Republicans in Congress to speak boldly like Brent Bozell did, because the Democrats are doing it. The Democrats are doing bold things. Obama doesn't really speak boldly unless he's bashing Republicans. But the Democrats, Eric Holder, came out this week and said we need to make it easier to prosecute people who break civil rights laws or hate crimes or whatever. He wants to make it easier because the burden of proof is too high. So I don't know, this is all because Zimmerman was not prosecuted under civil rights laws. And this is what they're doing. We're dealing with radicals. I like to call them communist. Brent Bozell calls them fascists. We have to fight against them. Why can they be bold and we can't? Crazy, crazy stuff. All right. When we get back, I have to talk a little bit. They revealed who Jihadi John was. And I want your take. What motivates someone like Jihadi John to join ISIS? What motivates these people in the West, and in the Middle East for that matter, to join ISIS? 407-674-1025. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio. News Radio 1025 WFLA. Welcome back to Beyond Reason Radio here at News Radio 1025 WFLA. Make sure to check out my new website, beyondreasonradio.com. Check out some of my old podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee, and the dress is white and gold. I don't care what anybody says. It is white. Don't shake your head at me in there, it is white and gold. I just talked to my twin sister. She was texting me, and apparently we are twins because she sees white and gold too. But our dad sees black and blue. So
do the other people with proper perception.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't wear glasses. I have great vision. I don't care. I'm not colorblind. Anyways, I am colorblind when it comes to race, though. That's a politically correct thing to say, I guess. Okay, good. Maybe it's good to be colorblind then. All right. So I'm going to talk about ISIS a little bit later and what motivates them. If you want to get on the phone and give me your take. What you think motivates people like Jihadi John, who is a very successful young guy in London, to join ISIS. What do you think does it? 407-674-1025. Is it economic? Is it they're just wanting opportunity? Economic opportunity? That's what Obama thinks. Somehow I don't think so. But I saw this story. It really has nothing to do with politics, but it has everything to do with the death of logic in this country, I think. This is all about emotions, this story. And obviously, logic died today, especially with Leonard Nimoy, Spock dying. The death of logic in this country. Talked about that earlier. But I have this story here. It's, I found it on coin.com. I think it's out of Tennessee. No, it's out of Oregon. I'm sorry. It's out of Oregon. I don't know, how do you mix up Tennessee and Oregon? It's beyond reason in itself. It's out of Oregon. A first grader was made to sit alone because he was late. He was late, and it's very sad. And I have to admit, I'm on the kid's side some. But you have to hear this story. And we're going to play the news report here and tell me, do you feel sad? Should the school be punished for making this kid sit alone at lunch because he's been late to school 5 times? Go ahead and play that for me, Mike.
An Oregon family says their first grader is being publicly shamed at school as punishment for being tardy.
The boy's grandmother posted her outrage on Facebook, and like Dan said, that's really gone viral. In fact, it has gotten more than 50,000 shares.
Our Amy Frazier has been looking into how the boy was treated and what the school district, what they're doing about it.
Well, this little boy is just 6 years old. His family
By the way,
says
stop right there. By the way, if they show a picture of the boy, looks exactly like the youngest boy on Malcolm in the Middle. Just so you want to know what he looks like. He looks exactly like it. It is that kid, I think. Anyways, go on.
Elementary school in Grants Pass made a mockery of him in front of other students for being late.
I feel like they are shaming him for something that's not in his control.
Okay, stop that. You're right, it isn't in his control. Whose control is it in, sir? Yours. Anyways, keep going. I think he admits to that, sort of.
It is our fault that
yes,
he is late.
It is your fault.
A 6-year-old child isolated at
5
lunch behind
times.
a divider.
He was just like the last table in the lunchroom by the back door. And there's like a cup turned over that says a big D on it.
Oh,
D
no!
for detention.
Stop right there. Thank you. D for detention. It shows a picture, which Tom made a great point to me earlier. Who in the world took the picture? Where did the picture come from of him at detention? Did one of the teachers think it was, hey, this is the detention table, tweeted out there? Where did the picture come from? Anyways, it shows him at the table, and there's like a little board in front of him in the cup that says D, and it's supposed to be like lunch detention. I had lunch detention once. Did you ever have like detention, Michael?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, you have detention where you were very sad and stigmatized and...
I just flirted with the girls in detention.
Of course you did.
And how old were you?
15. I don't
All
know.
right. This is
All right,
this is
kid
6.
is 6. Okay, it is a little sad, but what bothers me is the kid's parents, instead of solving the problem themselves and just, I don't know, getting the kid to school on time, they're complaining to the school. Yeah, the school maybe shouldn't have done this, but it wouldn't happen if you just got the kid on time.
And they're getting their 15 minutes of fame on TV.
Yes, and the family's very persecuted. The family's so persecuted, even though it was their fault.
There's a shark hanging around somewhere. You can be sure of that.
Yeah, exactly. Continue playing that, Michael.
At Lincoln Elementary School in Grants Pass, something that's had first grader Hunter Camello in tears.
He, the other morning, was just flipping out, crying. I'm going to be tardy. I'm going to get lunch detention. In tears. No, we got to hurry up.
Hunter's
Well, why didn't you
parents
hurry
drive
up?
him to school.
After the 4th tardy, they continue to get
4,
a detention
5
every tardy for the
tardies.
rest of the semester.
5.
Mom
Not
Nicole
just 1,
Garlock
5.
says she's had car troubles and also struggles with osteoporosis.
It caused
Oh.
a lot of pain, and in the mornings...
Stop.
it's just-
Stop. I can't take it. I can't take it. If you have osteoporosis, get up earlier. You have a kid who needs to be at school on time. What if the kid, like, you know, has trouble doing his homework sometime? Are we going to say, oh, well, the mom has osteoporosis? Yeah, it's your responsibility as a parent to get the kid to school on time. I don't feel sorry for you. I mean, it stinks that you have osteoporosis. It stinks that it's hard to get up on time. Lots of parents have health problems. The point is, it's your responsibility to get the kid to school on time. Or find a way to get someone else to take him to school on time. This is all about shifting blame from the parents to the school. sorry, I shouldn't be that upset about this, but it's like the death of logic. It's like, come on. I don't feel sorry for them. It's all emotional. I feel sorry for the poor kid and the family. Detention's been around forever. Kids get stigmatized in different ways forever. It's not the end of the world, and it seems like it almost worked because the kid was trying to get to school on time. Now it's the parents' fault, but come on. Okay, continue playing, Michael.
Especially hard for me to get going.
No matter what, they say this kind of punishment isn't right. People are also chiming in on our Coin6 Facebook page saying, this makes me sick, and I would
Really?
lose my cool quickly if this was my child.
Oh, okay.
So we contacted
But you
Grants
probably would
Pass
get your
District
child to school on
Superintendent
time.
John Higgins. He tells us all their elementary schools have their own protocol on how to deal with tardiness. In a statement, the district says the school's policy is intended to provide students additional learning time in a non-distracting setting. It was never intended to isolate or stigmatize students. It goes on
Why
to
not?
say modifications are already being made to ensure catch-up learning opportunities are being provided in a supportive and caring environment.
What does
That
that
form
mean?
of punishment is not
Hold on.
acceptable.
Stop. What in the world does that mean? Catch-up learning environments are... Can you translate that for me, Michael? I have no
First
idea.
off, isn't it lunchtime?
Yeah.
So what kind of learning you can do at lunchtime?
I don't know. What's happening? The death of logic. I don't know what they're saying. I have no idea what that statement was even saying.
He's 6 years old. Punish the parents. Don't punish the child.
I agree with that. They should punish the parents. They should do something else. The punishment maybe wasn't the greatest, but it's not the worst either.
They should make the parents eat the school lunch.
Ooh, yeah. Take the parents to the school, put them behind the board with the D cup. I like that.
And eat the
kid-
school lunch from you know who.
From Michelle.
Michelle, yeah.
Oh, that's a whole nother. I was trying to make this politics free, Tom. Thanks. But yeah, they should just have the parents sit at detention and eat school lunch. I like that. I mean, I agree. It's not the right punishment, but I'm reading like, this makes me sick. I would be outraged. You should be outraged at yourself if you're not taking the kids to school on time. Okay. Was there anything else, Mike? Continue playing. I don't know if there's anything left.
To me, for my child, and I don't want to see anybody's child shamed like that.
Okay. So you know what's going to come of this? All detention is going to be shameful. It'll start with this, and maybe they shouldn't have done this, but anyone who ever gets in trouble ever will be shamed. That's kind of the point of detention, to be shamed a little bit.
Just be happy there's no dunce cap.
Exactly. Yeah, if I were the teacher, I would have put the cup with the D on his head. Yeah, needs to be that discipline. I mean, it's not the kid's fault, but it's just, I just did not hear the parents take responsibility for any of it. Did you guys hear that? I didn't hear anything. I heard excuses. I didn't hear responsibility. The death of logic. Telling you. It's here. All right, 407-674-1025. If you have any comments on the death of logic in America. When I get back, I told you I would talk about what I think motivates those who join ISIS. We have that and more listening to Beyond Reason Radio, 102.5 WFLA. Welcome back to Beyond Reason Radio. I'm Michael Yaffee, joined by Tom and Mike in the control room as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. Catch my podcasts at my website, beyondreasonradio.com. By the way, you can listen to my podcasts. I post them with Bud Henninger live podcasts. Just download the iHeartRadio app. You can get the podcast there as well. So we've been talking about the death of logic. And with the death of Leonard Nimoy, of course, we talk about the death of logic. And what really is illogical is people joining ISIS. You look at someone like Jihadi John, who they found out, and I had his name here. Forget what his name is. Muhammad something, of course, the usual Muslim name that
Smith.
he has. Muhammad Smith. Here it is. But they revealed who he was, and he was really just a normal guy. He graduated from college. He had a decent job, had lots of money. They have a picture of him wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates hat. Seems like a normal person. And now he's in ISIS, decapitating people with knives. What motivates someone to do that? So you had the Obama administration saying what we need to do is add more economic opportunity in places like the Middle East, and that will change it and get people out of ISIS. Well, that obviously didn't matter to this guy. He had money. He had wealth. He had economic opportunity. And Tom Benton, we were talking before the show, and he made a great point to me that if it was all about
appearances.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, he has a job. His job is killer. And with the pictures floating around showing him in a Pittsburgh Pirates hat, it got me thinking about, it makes him look like a normal guy. Loser perhaps, but, relatively normal. Whereas when he's all get up in his terrorist outfit, he looks evil. He looks like the face of evil. And I think when they show a picture of him in the Pirates hat, it humanizes the person. And I don't think they should. I think they should just show him for the evil that he is.
Yeah, and he is evil. And I think, it's interesting you bring that up too, because I think that's part of his motivation. It gives him, before he just thought of himself as a regular loser, but this gives him purpose. It gives him meaning. When he looks evil, he has power. He has that quest for purpose and meaning. And that's what these people are looking for. We live, I've talked about it before, we live in the postmodern society where there is no truth, there is no meaning, there is no purpose. And the secular world, the West, has been getting rid of spirituality in this country, getting rid of Christianity slowly. It hasn't happened fully. It's happened more in Europe than here, which is why they're getting more recruits in Europe than here. But what we are doing is creating a spiritual vacuum in the world, in the West, in all over the world, a spiritual vacuum. And if you know a vacuum, it has to be filled because it is in our instincts. It's built into our brain to want purpose, to have meaning. Some people call it the faith instinct, to have faith, to believe in something bigger than yourself. It's built into us as human beings. And we're totally getting rid of that in our country by getting rid of spirituality, by getting rid of meaning, purpose, religion, faith. And while we're doing that, there's that hole out there. And people who really need that purpose, now they're going to many different places to try to fill that hole. And this is an extreme example, but you have a lot of people in the world who have meaningless lives. Money is not the answer. We thought it was, but it's not. And they see something like ISIS, and they see they're recruiting them, saying this will give you power, this will give you meaning, this is for eternal life, all that stuff. And it's attractive.
I wonder if you would go back into Jihad Johnny's life to when he was 6 years old. If he was late for school one day and they made him sit away from the other kids.
Are you Somehow I don't think that has much to do with it. Good tie in there, though. That was great. We talked about that the last segment. But I think that's something, I think that's the main motivator. Bud and I talked about this on the show, and he thinks it's a lot to do with video games, violent video games, violent TV shows. And Tom Menton made another good point. He doesn't think that either. I don't really think that. He said, "Tell me what you said earlier." It was an excellent point. You made a lot of good points today.
Something about if that was the case, then all the jihadists would be here, because there's more video games and more violence on TV and movies in America than I think anywhere else. The other thing is, I don't believe that logic, because there's all these comedy shows on TV. Does it make everybody funnier? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, and the other point is, most of these people are from the third world. They don't have access to all these video games, but yet that's where they are. If it was video games, we would have more. Yeah, we would have more people here. All the kids here would be becoming terrorists, which maybe that could happen. They're getting it from here, but I really think it's that spiritual motivator. This is what happens when you get God out of a society. People are going to try to fill it because I truly believe we are built to worship God. We are built to reach out for our Creator. It's in our souls, and we have to do that. And we're going to find a way to do that. And when they can't find it through the truth, sometimes they find it through evil. The devil's good like that. He can reach out and get people through that stuff. And I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about, this is going to be an amazing tie-in. You won't believe this tie-in. But I was thinking about the death of Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek. And I thought about the Star Trek movie that came out a few years ago with J.J. Abrams. Not the second one, the first one, just called Star Trek. And there was a part in that movie that I thought was really interesting. And the thing is, Spock, if anyone watches the show, Leonard Nimoy's character, Spock. Now, in the movie, Leonard Nimoy played the older Spock. So he was in the movie, and there was another guy who played the younger Spock. And there was a part in the movie where the older Spock was talking to the younger Spock. Just stay with me here. I swear, I'm getting to it. And the thing is about Spock is he was always almost too logical. I talked about how we need logic, but there's also you can also be too logical. And there were points in it where he had to throw logic out of the window and do what was right. And the younger Spock is talking to the older Spock. The younger Spock's basically saying, well, illogical, we need to think logically. And the older Spock says, you have so much to learn. And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting exactly. But he said, sometimes you have to get rid of logic and just have a little faith. Have faith. And when I heard that, it really made me hope for the future that this was in a big-time movie where you had a big-time character who's supposed to be about science and logic, and he's saying, look, it's not all about logic. It's about faith. It's about belief. Believing in something bigger than yourself. Believing in your friends. Love. I think that's an important thing. And when I heard about the death of Leonard Nimoy, it made me think of that part of the movie where we have to think logical, because I've talked about the death of logic. It's all about emotion. But we also can't get rid of faith and belief in God, who knows much more than we could. We can't know everything. So we have to have faith in something bigger than ourselves. And if we could bring that faith back to our country, faith in God, in the good God, in the true God, it would help so many issues within our country. And it would help so many issues in the world. And that's going to be what has to fight ISIS. Because that spiritual vacuum exists in the world. And there's so much in our world now competing to fill it. The jihadis are just one of them. There's so much other stuff. There's money, there's sex, there's fame. Fame's a big one now. Everyone wants to be famous. All this stuff competing to fill that spiritual vacuum, and it's not going to work. God is the only thing that can fill it. The true God. And by the way, I have faith that the dress is white and gold. White and gold. White and gold.
Black and blue.
I am stunned, by the way, that you do not see the white and gold. I don't understand. I
have yet to see one photo where I perceive it as white and gold. It's just so clearly black and blue to me.
Yeah, it's on our website, 1025wfla.com. Check it out for yourself. It's quite amazing. All right, thank you guys for joining me. Make sure to go to my website, beyondreasonradio.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. I'm going to catch you guys on Monday. I'm Buttheading Live at 6 a.m., and I'll be back here next week, Friday night, for Beyond Reason. Catch you guys then.
Difference. I look inside.